All right, and I think we're live. So there are many people that I have talked to in the last, I don't know how many hours, who have advised me not to say or do anything, or if I do, to do something in a very, very, very closely guarded kind of way. I'm not really sure exactly how I am where I am right now, but I guess the first thing that I want to do is to say that today I came to realize that I've said some things in a couple different ways that have come across in a way that is not the way that I intended and clearly not received well. And I understand why some things have not been received well. I don't have any excuses for the way that I've come across to some people. But the one thing that I would request, if people will allow me, is a little bit of space to explain things from my perspective, because I feel like there's been a lot of communication from other people. I don't know. I don't want to do anything. The last 6 weeks have been a lot, you guys. Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of work, a lot. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to tell you, I have some notes here. I hope that no one's offended. Anyhow, I understand there's been a lot of communication around all of my channels. That's been abundantly clear to me that there are people that are unhappy with some things that I've said, and I understand that. I guess just to sort of like back up and give some context, what I'd like to do is kind of talk about some things. And by the way, I know that there's been a lot of, this is not monetized, is all I'll say. None of this is monetized. There's no super chats. There's no super stickers or anything here. Anyhow, this channel has grown a lot in the last 2 months, like by about 200,000 subscribers. I recognize that the vast majority of people that are on this channel are very new. They may not know me that well. I've hoped that throughout the process of this trial, I hope that I've been coming across sincerely, but I also know that there are times in all of the hours of live streaming and recording videos and recaps and all that stuff that I'm not always going to be carrying myself in the way that I would like to. With all that hard work that's been coming in the last couple of months, there's been a lot of growth in the channel, which means that there's been a lot of new attention, a lot of positive attention, which is great, and some negative attention. There's been a lot about, I mean, you guys have seen articles about trial streaming of the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial, criticisms about that it's like disrespectful of DV claims and of this one in particular. And you know, that there's criticism that, like, you know, is turning the courtroom into clickbaity circuses and that kind of stuff. So I've been very sensitive to that kind of thing throughout this whole process. And I haven't always been very successful in my delivery on stuff, but at the same time, I hope that it has been clear at times that I'm always trying to learn as I go. Anyhow, with all that attention, I have always been very worried about mistakes that can possibly be weaponized. Because, you know, I already said there's been articles and stuff, you know, and that mentioned LawTube and that, you know, throw shade around these various trial streams. And I see the growth of LawTube and I'm so thrilled about it. I'm so happy about it. And, you know, like, we've got new channels that are popping up and just like growing out of nowhere, you know, and seeing so many of our friends getting to over 100,000 subscribers. I'm one of them. Like, I before I started covering this trial, I was at like like literally like 43,000 subscribers. And I'm so happy to like be there and see a lot of my friends, see these same things. Um, anyhow, um, I see where LawTube is going, and I see that there are people that are threatened by the growth of LawTube. I've always been very worried about the ways in which that can be weaponized, and so that has made me very protective of LawTube at the same time. The branding, if you will, reputation. Um, and as things have grown and more people have come onto the panels, I've been so excited because when I first started streaming, I didn't know if anyone was going to join me. I didn't know if anyone was going to be watching. Um, and I've just been so thrilled. I've been so happy with how people have been wanting to join in. And when we started making contact with people in the courtroom to get live updates from the jury, that was like the best thing ever because I uh, I was excited to be able to get that kind of insight because there's something missing that you don't quite get when you're live streaming a trial and as opposed to being in the courtroom itself. Anyhow, when we did start making contact with folks in the courtroom, then people from LawTube wanted to go and start going in there and observing themselves and coming back and telling us. And it's been wonderful. It's been really great. There are rules in the courtroom too. I've mentioned that, and I know that the thing that I said before was not well received, and it wasn't a good message. The way that I came across was not good. I knew it when I was coming off of that message and into the last live stream. I knew it, and I instantly wanted to like redo that message and like make another one because I knew it wasn't right. But there's always this idea that like if you do something too many times, make too many statements, you start running into problems. Anyway, I'm already whatever. So the thing that I was trying to get across earlier, let me go back. Let me just go back before I get to that. I was starting to hear things that were concerning to me. And folks that are connected to us in some ways. And I panicked. I will be honest. I panicked, and I sent a DM that is like I sent some hastily typed DMs in the middle of live streaming when I'm admittedly very tired. Those DMs could have been drafted much better. I understand that those have been taken as condescending. And I get it. I can see that. When I send a DM, I usually hope that that is taken as a DM. I had hoped that that would be a one-on-one conversation. I never expected a DM to become a public conversation. I just wanted a one-on-one conversation. Next thing I knew, I'm getting tweets and DMs coming my way about an insinuation on another live stream about somebody getting banned or uninvited, expressly uninvited from a LawTube live stream. And I got concerned because I didn't want to have to talk about anything publicly. I didn't want to have to do anything like that. So what happened was I did what I normally like to do in real life and address it head on. And the statement that I made was not the one that I wanted to make, not the one that I envisioned in my head. And I'm sorry for that. I apologize. I really do. There were things that I said. I know. I've seen some of the commentary from folks saying things like, you didn't send them. I get it. I know. I'm very well aware, guys. I have never intended to come across like I'm somehow taking accomplishments for anybody else. I had I would have hoped that people would understand that at this point after so much time in these live streams. But I can understand why people would read it that way. I can. And I understand that the folks are going to these folks are going into the courtroom on their own by their own volition. And I get that I'm not one to take credit for it. One of those guys that was in the courtroom there was also with me on that live stream. And by the way, I also don't want anyone to be giving any hate to anyone else that has been showing up on my channel. I would very much appreciate that because I take full responsibility for my channel. I take full responsibility for the things that I say and that I do. And I don't want anyone else to be taking hits on my behalf. So the thing that I was most concerned about talking about that statement, which I very poorly stated, and I didn't thread the needle at all as to what I meant. The thing that concerned me, I didn't want to have to talk about any of this stuff publicly. The thing that concerned me is that when we have that there are rules in the courtroom for conduct, and it's not just because courtrooms are stuffy. The reasons are, a lot of them, to make sure that we don't have an impact on the jury. And when courts open up the courtroom to the public in the ways that they do for a case like this, there's a huge risk. There's a huge risk that the public can have an impact. And so there are these rules, and they've been strictly enforced. This judge in particular strictly enforces rules. We've seen a witness get kicked off the stand. We've seen, we've seen time limits strictly enforced. So, and this being a very important case to a lot of people, I am very sensitive to those rules myself, and I try not to take myself seriously. This is why I'll make fun of myself all the time on these streams. I recognize that there are those that find me boring. I recognize that there are those that find me basic. That's fine. That's all fair. That's me. That's who I am. But I take the process seriously. And when I see things and I hear things that I'm concerned about, I get protective, and I want to make sure that those things don't get tracked back to me or others that are also in this space. And just to give a little bit more context, the sudden growth that happened on this channel came out of nowhere, seemingly, and it has resulted in getting media attention. I already talked about this. I already said this. But the thing is, like, I had this sudden panicked image in my head of like, if something were to happen, there's certain things that are taken as attention, and there are memes that have been passed around from that particular TMZ moment. There are memes. If something were to get out and something were to impact the jury, and the judge were to make a very strict and swift decision, there's a possibility that something like that could result in a mistrial. Imagine the absolute devastation if that were to happen in this case, after all of the years of litigation that happened and all the time and money spent. And imagine if that were to get linked back to the live streams that are coming out of LawTube. that's a concern to me. That is a legitimate concern to me. And you can decide if you think that that is BS or not. That's a concern. And I have a lot of sudden pressure on me because I suddenly have people calling me for comment on articles and things like that. And I know that there are those that are looking to take down LawTube. Of course, because I can see where LawTube can go, and I can see where LawTube is going. And I have so much respect for everyone else in this space. These are my brothers and sisters in LawTube. A lot of them are like, I consider them family. Anyhow. I sent a DM. I didn't get a response. It worried me. But I have also been working at a very rapid pace in the last 6 weeks. So I didn't think too much about it until I started seeing tweets and stuff. Anyhow. The statement that I made yesterday was not the one that I pictured. And I'm sorry for that, guys. I am. It's not the brand that I want to have. It's not the brand that I have that I like to portray, that I like to be myself. Anyhow. I think I just wanted to apologize for that. I could have done it in writing. It didn't really feel right. I recognize that this is a medium that really opens me up to a lot of vulnerability. Because I can be torn to shreds on a video. There were those that recommended not to do anything, and especially not in a video. So anyhow, I could have done this in a series of tweets, but that just didn't feel like, it just didn't feel like that would be as open. Anyhow, I do apologize. I never meant any offense to anyone. I really didn't. I'm sorry. I guess that's all.